everybody, thanks for joining me today. I'm Katie, and you have come to the stress-free place to keep you grooving and improving on your musical journey. So today we're going to be talking about the top mistakes or things that I just wish that I had learned as a beginner, or somebody told me as a beginner while I was trying to teach myself to play the guitar way back in 2002. Hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and also some things that I've picked up along the way over the 15 years that I've been teaching guitar. So there's less of this.
I can't play.
And more of this. Thank you to NU Music for sponsoring this video, and let's get into this. Number one, posture really does matter. It's the neck position really does matter. What I mean by posture, you can tilt it up just a little bit to see where you are and where your fingers are, but I see the mistake of tilting it too far toward the ceiling like this, because then your wrist position, you have to compensate by swinging your wrist forward this way, and it makes it really uncomfortable. You need to bring the guitar to you. To combat that, you see that I have inlays here on the 3rd fret, starting at the 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, and then the dots right here. I call that my GPS, so to speak, because it lets you know, okay, I was at 1, 2, 3rd fret. Oh, it eliminates that mystery of where am I? If you don't have a dot on the 3rd fret, take a little sticker and put it on the 3rd fret if you don't mind using like a paint marker too on your guitar. Putting that dot there really does help just to position you, and also helps you not swing that wrist forward. So give that a try. 2, this may sound really silly, but you look at the chord diagram over here. Most chord diagrams, they have your fingers or the positions, the dots right in the middle. I mean, it looks beautiful, but that's not realistic. Right there. You see that D chord where you have the fingers perfectly, right parallel? No. Here's the tip. Take your fingers and slide them as close to the fret as you possibly can, because you're going to end up working less or squeezing less. So if you bring it back, I'm using the same amount of pressure, and you hear how muffled everything is? Clunk, clunk, clunk. Now I'm just going to slide it close to the frets. That makes all the difference right there. I'm not pushing any harder. If you notice that, make those teeny tiny adjustments. It's going to make a big difference. Tip number 3 flows and piggybacks off of tip number 2, which is you're probably squeezing too hard. You know, as you're developing your calluses, it gets easier, but at first it just felt like my fingers were on fire.
And it burns, 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 the ring of fire.
So how do you know that you're squeezing too hard? I would do the chord test and choose something very simple, like the D chord, for example, and build it one finger at a time. So we're going to start with the 1st string, and I'm going to use finger number 2 right here. I'm going to place that on the 2nd fret. Now I'm just going to lightly touch the string, put it in position right behind the fret. I'm not going to squeeze. Not going to squeeze yet. Now, as I'm plucking the string or even strumming it with a pick, doesn't matter, I'm going to stop squeezing immediately when I hear a clear sound. I feel like I'm barely touching the string. If you take the time to build your chord one finger at a time and then just try to work through, okay, how much pressure do I really need in order to create a clear sound, you're probably going to save yourself a lot of time and a lot of frustration. The next one is all about picks, adding new chords. Oh, drop my pick. Oh! No! Maybe I should give you advice on how not to drop your pick. I wish somebody told me that I could choose whatever pick I wanted as a beginner. So I started off with a medium gauged pick, which is really recommended, but I felt like I was raking a quarter or a nickel across my strings. And then somebody told me about these, and these are nylon picks. They have little grippies on them. It's more flexible, it has a little bit more give, and I swear this is something that really helped me just with strumming and didn't make me feel like I was super clunky when I was strumming. You know what also saves me a whole lot of trouble? My thumb. I wish somebody had told me that, hey, you know what? Keeping your thumb here while you're playing your chords on most of your open chords here, it's going to mute the 6th strings. If I keep my thumb over the fretboard like this and just lightly touch that E string, because you know how when you first start a D, it sounds like this? You get that low E rumbly bumbly mess if you train yourself to have your thumb curling over, and it doesn't have to be right over this way. Just, just a light touch. That's all you need in order to mute it. That really does save you a lot of time and also just a lot of grief. You can just strum, you can just have fun and just not worry about that low E string. Looking at the D chord diagram at first, this was just like the bane of my existence because I see 2 muted strings and I thought, how do I, what? How do I mute both of those or avoid those 2 strings when I'm trying to strum? It just sounded like a mess. Well, the more that I looked at my piano theory, because I started with piano, and I looked at that and I said, okay, the D chord does have an A note in it. The root note is the low D right here. But even though if you have an A in there, it's still going to be fine. I think the D chord sounds just fine, and I don't have to mute that stinking A string there. And the last one that I wish that somebody had pulled me aside and told me was, don't play to impress. I was in a worship clinic one time. What the worship leader was saying and training us really resonated with me. No pun intended. And he said, if you play for applause, applause is all you get. Up until recently, actually, I would get super nervous. More so just performing by myself. I'd just be terrified, so focused on the fact that I didn't do this perfectly or I couldn't do this. Like we start that swirling that swirling negativity in our heads, but also looking through the lens of that you are not what you do. Your worth isn't determined how well you played or how well you performed something, and just thinking about, okay, you know what? Excuse me. This does not determine my worth. It never can. It never has, and it never will. Thinking more about like my motivation. For me, my motivation is to encourage people. I want to help people. I want to use the gifts that God has given me well. And because He has put that desire in my heart to learn how to play and to improve. Do I have a long way to go? Absolutely. There's always something to learn. But instead of seeing that as discouraging, being encouraging that there's always room to grow, and there will be other people that will be encouraged by your gift where you are right now. And 2, they will also be encouraged by the fact that you're still willing to learn and still be willing to be open about that. So I hope that helps you. Thank you so much for being here. If you want some more guitar technique, if you want some more guitar technique and things like that, I'm going to put that over here in a playlist and some tutorials. That's free. And remember, you are not what you do. You are loved. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.